Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Dream Big Today. This is November 28th in 2022. And man, what a great weekend. I hope yours was as good as mine. We got all of my Christmas decorations put up in my house. And when I say we, I just kind of supervised because my daughters did it. You know, I've had surgery and my husband's had surgery, and don't tell them that we're really well. But I'm thinking I'm just going to play this surgery thing for a few years. We'll see how that works out. But it was perfect whenever they just did everything for me. But I do still, I'm getting ready to go to physical therapy again today. So, I'm still in that mode. But I'm thinking today I'm going to tell him I'm done, and we'll see how that works. So I hope you've read the word today. Good morning, Debbie. We're in Daniel 5, and wow. Good morning, Lynn. Daniel 5 is about the handwriting on the wall. And I wanted to read my devotion today, but I just can't, I don't have time to squeeze that in along with what this is about today. And Daniel is so full of just wonderful things to study and dig in deep. And I've read this story hundreds of times, and I still get something new out of it each time I do. So we're going to get into it here in just a second, but I almost forgot. I just want to remind you to put your prayer requests in and your praise reports, because, we just want to join you in that celebration. Hi, Judy and Nancy. Man, I like it when y'all join me. Okay, so now then, we're gonna get into Daniel 5, the handwriting on the wall. And what I wanted to share with you too is there's some pastors I like to listen to preach that's going through the Bible too. Their insights is just really, really cool, and they're unknown. I can find them on YouTube. But whenever I was scrolling through it this morning, I got up early, got my coffee, went out and sat on the patio with my blanket wrapped up around me. It's 32 degrees. And I found Billy Graham. Billy Graham speaks about the handwriting on the wall. So you should go back to YouTube and just pull up Billy Graham, handwriting on the wall. I don't know what year it was, but you can just pretty much tell that, it was probably in the 70s because everybody's glasses and their hairstyles. But as I was listening to him, and I haven't finished it yet, everything that he's talking about, he might as well be preaching today, because his word on the handwriting on the wall 30 or 40 years ago is perfect for this time, because of the pridefulness of people and the entitlement that we feel like we deserve. Good morning, Anita and Angel and Donna. We feel like we deserve a whole lot. We found out that we could live without a whole lot through the COVID experience because of the isolation. My goodness, people were learning how to bake bread. Now, if my grandma heard me say that, she'd think, well, doesn't everybody know how to bake bread? And of course they don't. But now then, Daniel. So let's look at Daniel. And this is many years later. Nebuchadnezzar has died, and King Belshazzar is in place. And it refers to Nebuchadnezzar as his father, but in those days, everybody, ancestors was the fathers. It didn't necessarily point out grandma, grandpa, and all of that kind of stuff. It was your ancestors. But it's many years later. And so Belshazzar is having this huge feast. And you know what? It's a party that he's got all of 1,000 of his nobles there, and he had dancing and drinking and just elaborate things going on. And one thing I read was like central things, but it's just hard telling what all was happening at that time. And then he has the wine goblets, the stuff from the temple, the cups, the gold cups, and everything brought so they could be used in his party? Well, we start out with him being disrespectful for that which was sacred that was in the temple. And, bring that around to us today on what is sacred that we are misusing. The church, the church is a place of worship. It's not a place for anything else. Don't you feel different when you walk into a church and you just feel without a service, without anything, just because there's been so much worship? It's just like it's embedded in the walls that you can just feel the presence as you walk in. But so now they've got this huge party going on, and suddenly they saw the fingers of a human hand writing on the plaster wall of the king's palace near the lampstand. The king himself saw the hand as it wrote. Okay, as I was reading that, I thought, oh, this is interesting. I hadn't even focused on the lampstand until reading over it on the last couple of days. But so why the lampstand? But if you've got a Bible that has the little stuff on the side of it, read that next door to it. In Psalms 119, 105, it says, your word is a lamp to guide my feet and a light for my path. And you can find many references, of course, to the lampstand. And so God wrote on the wall by the lampstand. And so in my mind, I'm thinking this lamp is just shining on the wall. So there's no doubt that people can see what is being written. And so this hand is just writing, and they don't know what it means. He is afraid. He is so afraid, yet he doesn't have a clue what it says. It could have said, you just won the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes. He don't know. He doesn't know. He doesn't know that maybe the Persians are coming in. He doesn't know, but he's scared. Well, I think maybe he knows that he's doing wrong, and here's something he doesn't understand. It automatically makes him so scared that his body just basically collapses. It talks about him turning pale and his knees knocked and his legs gave way. You can find all kinds of different kinds of interpretations on what that means. Maybe bodily functions just fell apart too. But our focus is on the next line in verse 7. The king shouted for the enchanters, astrologers, fortune tellers to be brought before him. Look where he went to. Instead of looking for somebody that knew God, he goes to these people. When we flip over into 2 Peter 2, the whole chapter, it's talking to us there. Peter is talking about the false prophets. And I thought, how awesome is that all tied together? Because he says they will cleverly teach destructive heresies and even deny the master who brought them or who bought them. Many will follow their evil teaching and shameful immortality. That's why he's brought these people in. What did they do? They brought in the astrologers. So they want somebody to look at the stars. Fortune tellers, they want somebody, let me see your palm of your hand. Where's your rabbit's foot? You better hang them all over that robe you're wearing and your hat and put them on your crown. He went to the wrong people. He degraded all of the sacred stuff that came from the temple, and he's degrading his body with everything that he's been doing. He's still not recognizing anything. Secular history for this period has no record of a ruler named Darius. And when we see that in here, Darius could have been another name for Cyrus or an ancient prophet or official. Then let's see, another thing is there's no skeletons in Daniel's closet, so they had to create something. Oh, shoot. That's not my right note. I thought, why does that not make sense? Let me put that away. Let me just keep going like I'm going. That's a little tidbit for tomorrow. Okay, so he is scared and he doesn't know what to do. And all these wise men that they called in to come in, and they're looking at that, and it's in, what is it, Aramaic, but they don't have a clue. They can't read it. They don't know. And so the king it's even worse. He is stressed out. And the queen mother, I really want to think about this as he calls on grandma, or grandma walks in, because you know how we are. We come to give our advice, and it's all free. And so she walks in and she says, "Long live the king. Don't be so pale and frightened. There's a man in your kingdom that has the spirit of the holy gods. He was here during King Nebuchadnezzar." And so she goes on to say, this man Daniel, and notice she calls him by his name, his Jewish name, Hebrew name. This man Daniel, who the king named Belshazzar, has exceptional ability and filled with divine knowledge and understanding, and he can interpret everything. So Daniel was brought to him. And he says, "Are you Daniel, one of the exiles from Judah?" And he goes on to talk about that. He asks him to interpret this writing. But remember, this party was going nonstop, complete disregard for God. And then it happened. Suddenly it happened. Daniel, whenever he gets in there, he's probably 82-ish at this point, and he looks up at that on the wall, and you know what, he recognizes his father's writing, and he probably looks around at disgust at everything that he sees, because the king has offered him a monetary reward. He's offered him gifts and position. And Daniel's not impressed. Keep your gifts or give them to someone else. Don't you love that? He is not impressed, and he was harsh with Belshazzar. And so he really rips him through these next several verses. He's talking about his predecessor, Nebuchadnezzar. He was so great that all races and all nations trembled before him in fear. He killed those he wanted to kill, and he spared those he wanted to spare. But when his heart and his mind were puffed up with arrogance, he was brought down from his royal throne and stripped of his glory. He was driven from human society, as we have already read. He was given the mind of a wild animal, and he lived among the donkeys. The wild donkeys, he ate grass like a cow. You know what? I've seen people that, on just some kind of shows that are acting like that. I feel like I'm a cat today. I feel like I'm a bird. Or, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. So then in verse 22, Daniel goes on to say, "You are his successor, O Belshazzar. You knew all of this, yet you have not humbled yourself." See, the more we know about God, the more we study, the more we learn and meditate on, the more responsible we are for changing our life. For you have proudly defiled the Lord of heaven and have had these cups from the temple brought before you. Belshazzar knew better. He wasn't He wasn't raised in a godly home, but all men know God through creation. You can't look outside and not say there's no God. You can't look at a newborn baby and say that there's no God. You can't get up from sleeping all night long and know and think that there's no God, because you know what? If you were in charge of you, and you were in charge of making sure that your heart pumped blood through your body clear to your fingertips every single moment while you were sound asleep, and you're still breathing and all of your bodily functions is still working and you're not even aware of it, you can't say there's no God. So he's telling him, you have not honored the God who gives you the breath of life and controls your destiny. So here's the message. Here's the message written by God's hand. Many, tekel, and parsin. Now that's an oaky spin on this aromatic words, but you get the meaning. Many, he says that twice, and that means numbered. Your days are numbered. Your days are numbered. It also means remember. It says God has numbered the days of your reign and has brought it to an end. What would you do if you saw the handwriting on the wall today, and it gave you a date? By a month from now, your reign on this earth has ended. What would you change? Would you have to change something? Would you be doing something different than what you already are doing? Because see, we don't know when our days come to an end. It could be in the next hour. It could be, whatever, but God knows our number. He's got our number. Tekel means weighed. You have been weighed on the balances and have not measured up. And I thought about that. Oh my goodness. Whenever I get on the scales, I can't hide any pounds, anything. My whole entire weight is on there. I can't tell that nurse when she has me step up on the scale, take my shoes off, and I've asked her if I could take any more off, and they say no, which is a good thing because I wouldn't do it anyway. But I can't say, here, hold my arm up. I don't want it to be weighed. Everything is seen. And in Proverbs 16:2, the end of that says, but the Lord weighs the spirit. Proverbs 21:2 says, the Lord weighs the heart. Job in 31:6 said, let me be weighed in a just balance. Let God know my integrity. Let me be weighed. See, when he got up on that scale, he saw, of course, God didn't have to, he already knew. The pride was just from head to toe. The rebellion, all of those spirits that are of the evil one was just flowing through him. Then at Belshazzar's command, Daniel was dressed in purple robes. A gold chain was hung around his neck, and he was proclaimed the third highest ruler in the kingdom. He was promoted. And then you see that very night, Belshazzar, the Babylonian king, was killed, and Darius the Mede took over. See, he thought he was safe. And so he had this big wall built around his kingdom, and it was super tall, and it was so wide that they say 3 chariots could go around the top, the rim of the wall. So this is huge. Nobody can even take a hammer and try to bust that away, but they had the water flowing underneath the wall. And so what these people did, without even raising a bow and arrow, they dammed up the water a mile away to where the bed of the river was dry, and they came in under the wall and they attacked. So that very night is when Daniel told him what the meaning of that was. Your days are numbered. Well, he could have said, in a few hours, you're out of here. You're done. You better do something right now and change your ways. Put the cups back at the temple. But it was done. And so as you read, if you get a chance, again, go listen to Billy Graham, because he's talking about our day today and how pertinent this is on this story of Daniel and the king in how we're living. He also said, and I thought this was good, when we read Daniel, read Revelation with it, because this is prophetic and it all goes together. And so Peter, 2 Peter 2, speaks of these false prophets and false teachers. And so the whole thing about this is, if you want to be able to spot heresy, you got to know the word. You can't listen to somebody, even if it's a pastor, for what he's saying, because you know what, they're human. They're trying to be popular. Maybe they're trying to not lose part of their congregation. Maybe they're not going to tell you about how you should live. Maybe if they're not speaking out of the Bible on what a marriage looks like between a man and a woman, and that you get married first and then you live together, that yes, you are a male, yes, you are a female, there is no gray there. You know, when God made us, he made beautiful people. It is like the best oiled machine ever, because we can, our bodies can repair itself and continue to move on. There's going to be some that's going to tell you that, oh, you know, I see you were a mistake. You shouldn't have been. You should be a girl. You should be a boy. You should be what you're not. That's all lies. That's all lies from the pit of hell. It says in verse 2, many will follow their evil teaching and shameful immorality. It's okay if you have or in a big old group of people in a house and you all live together in sin. They're going to tell you it's okay. If it feels good, do it. If you want to drink that or eat that, do it. If you want to grow that in your grow house, do it. But God condemned them a long time ago, and their destruction will not be delayed. Remember that. In their greed, they will make up clever lies to get a hold of your money. It's about the money. And it's about their position. So Peter goes on to say, the godly will be judged, and the ungodly, man, I got too excited. The ungodly will be judged. He talks about 3 major judgments in between verse 4 and 6. It's the major judgments of sin. So there's the angels who sinned. He threw them into the pits of darkness. He judged the ancient world. This was during the time of Noah. He judged Sodom and Gomorrah, but saved Lot. So if he can do that, if he can save one man in his family out of a whole community of bad people, he can rescue that righteous man. He can take care of us. You see, the world just falling apart around us in our mind, but you know what? We see it. There's always been evil since Adam and Eve. This isn't new. You can read your Bible every day and you can see this is not new. He's telling us that the righteous will be delivered. Oh my goodness. You're just going to have to go through and read the rest of that today to get just focus on that, because again, we've got so many people telling us that it's really okay to do what you want to do. We have rules and not rules, but laws that are telling us that it's okay to abort a baby. A lot of things that we know because we read the Bible that it's not true. So read on that today. I want to jump real quick to Psalms 119, 113 through 128. And I'm excited about this one too. Let me read a little note about that I found on this. Nancy, you're going to be so proud of me on this. Psalms, this Psalm 119, the whole entire thing, of course, it's huge. It uses 8 basic words for God's word in 171 of the 176 verses. If you just stopped today and got your little highlighter and went through Psalms 119 and highlighted all of those words, you're going to see almost every verse talks about instructions. Now then, for example, in 113 today, it says, I hate those with divided loyalties, which another thing is double-minded. But I love your instruction. We see he's talking about the word, the commands, your promises, decrees, laws, regulations, commands and commandments all the way through that. But here's some of the cool things. You know, we read that. Well, and also one more thing. This is for you, Nancy. The little word right there, and I can't say it, S-A-M-E-K-H, Semekah. So that is acrostic, and they use all of these. Oh, Alicia's watching too. Alicia, your aunt has taught me well. This name, Semekah, if I'm saying it right, in the acrostic thing that they use to help them remember the word, that stands for, you, O Lord, are my shield and my hope. All the wicked are tossed like rubbish. Does that make sense? Okay, one more. If we go over to 121, Ayin, A-Y-I-N, that in the acrostic poem is, I am your servant, Lord, give me discernment. And you see how that follows into the flow of that. So now here's my little tidbit for you today. And we're almost to 9 o'clock. So this will be your inspiration. A Puritan preacher wrote a 3-volume work on Psalms 119. Each volume was 500 to 600 pages, totaling 1,677 pages in Psalms. More than one chapter for each verse. He wrote 190 chapters over the one chapter of Psalms. Now this, when I was reading that, I thought, no wonder we can't get our minds wrapped around it with just a 15-minute read. No wonder every time we come back and read this, we see something else, because here's this guy that studied it, and he wrote almost 1,700 pages of his inspiration, if you want to say it that way, over Psalms 119. Okay, so the next thing, people have memorized Psalm 119 and it benefited, and I don't even know how you do that, because I've never thought about doing it. My goodness, it's 176 verses long. We don't give ourselves enough credit. We don't even try to make ourselves do something that we just look at it, and on the appearance, it looks like it's too hard, so we don't even try. Just imagine if we tried to memorize Psalms 119, we might memorize 10 verses. That's 10 more than you knew. So next, Matthew Henry, the great theologian, pastor, preacher, meditated on one verse every morning as a child. As he grew up, one verse a day he did this. He went through Psalms 119 twice a year by just doing one verse a day. I thought, oh my goodness, why are we not doing that? We could meditate and memorize, if in a year's time, probably the whole entire chapter of 119 Psalms, if we did that. Then listen to this, how beneficial it is when you do this. The Bishop of Edinburgh in the 17th century was condemned to death by his faith, for his faith, I should say. He made use of the custom, allowing him to choose one psalm to be sung before he was put to death. So he picked Psalms 119. And before they had completed singing these 176 verses, he was pardoned and let go. Psalms saved his life. Isn't that just amazing? When we study this law that it's talking about, the law becomes our law of love, because your word is a source of hope. I intend to obey the commands of my God. I intend, see, that's some action on my part. I plan to obey these laws. I'm not going to just willy-nilly throughout this day. I intend to obey, and I'm going to pray before I hop in my car to go to physical therapy. I'm going to pray before I hop in my car to go get my nails done. I mean, you see how my priorities are today. I'm going to meditate, and it says continually. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep doing it. I stand in awe of your regulations. Teach me your decree. Look at 125. Give discernment to me, your servant. Then I will understand your laws. See, the Bible is like medicine. It only goes to work when we apply it to ourselves. To these affected areas, you can find something to heal your heart, to heal your mind, to even heal your physical body. So as you read Psalms, as you read the whole entire Bible, be alert for lessons. Be alert for the commands, the promises, the examples that we could put into practice, because these were real people. These were real people that stood in that season. And they lived through whenever they lived through an awful time. Awful to me is they didn't have electricity, a dishwasher, a washer and dryer, and a coffee pot. Well, you know what? Years and years and years from now, if there's still a world, our future generation will look back at us and think, oh man, I don't know how they did it, but they will read how, if they still have a Bible, we hope they still do, they will read how we got through the tough times. 127 says, truly, I love your commands more than gold, even the finest gold. Each of your commandments is right. See, everything is right. There's no mistakes in this word. There wasn't when it was written, and there's still not today. And it says, that is why I hate every false way. Isn't this an awesome reading today? I couldn't hardly wait. And I thought, man, I'm too excited. And I didn't know how I was going to make all this work in my time that I have today. But you know what? It's all great. And Daniel 5 is one to read over and over and just soak it up and jump into Revelation and see how all of this is tying together with prophecy. And so you all have a great day. And like I say, I'm off to physical therapy, and I will be back again soon. You have a great day, and I love you. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye-bye.